What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel if you are a returning member. If you are new here, well, thank you for tuning in. I'm glad you could join the party. So my name is Lexi. For those of you who are new here, I will put my Instagram handle below, but as always, all of my information can be found in the description box in all of my YouTube videos. But you guys, I have a fun video, well, I think it's fun, scheduled for today, or not really scheduled. I don't go off of a schedule. I'm not that advanced yet, but I had this realization the other day on December 31st, bit of a difference there. And I was like, oh my gosh, I am the worst YouTuber. I felt like I needed to film this whole extravagant 2021 reflection video and goals and all of that. But I was like, you know what? You're putting unnecessary pressure on yourself. Chillax. But what I did want to do is I did want to do something with kind of, in lieu of the new year, since we, it is January 5th when I'm recording this. So we just started a new year. So what I thought I would do is I thought I'd sit down in this video and take some time I have my journal ready because I have them all written out, to kind of share some of the top lessons I learned this past year in my fitness journey. So one of the beautiful things about fitness journeys in general, it's just, I feel like we as athletes are constantly evolving and learning, and that is one of the coolest aspects of this to me. Thinking about what I know now and where my head is at now compared to where it was a year ago is just baffling to me, right? And it's funny because you think in the moment that you know so much, which I'm not saying I don't know a lot right now, but I know that next year comes around, I'm gonna be like, oh my God, I know so much more now than I did a year ago. But this past year was filled with a lot of really awesome things when it comes to just my fitness journey, that really taught me a good amount of lessons. So I'm gonna share some of my main takeaways with you guys today in this video. So last year, 2021, I chose to compete 3 different times. So I stepped on stage 3 different times, and I have show day vlogs for 2 of those shows. If you want to go back and if you're interested in watching those, I will put the thumbnails up here wherever, so that you can see where those are at if you're curious in watching. But I would say getting back on stage, competing in the bikini division as a competitor, taught me so much. But I also want this video, for those of you who aren't competitors, I think that you're also going to resonate a lot with this video and a lot of the points I'm bringing up, because I think that the lessons I learned this past year can apply to anybody, whether you're a competitor or just somebody who is in this for the long term with no intentions of competing. So the first thing I want to put out there is there will never be a perfect time. That is one of the biggest lessons I learned this past year. There will never be a perfect time to start something or to do something or to go after something. I remember thinking back in last February, March, before I reached out to Paul, who is my current coach, when I reached out to him because I was like, you know what, I think I want to prep. I was really hesitant at first because I was thinking that I had some other priorities I wanted to take care of in that May time frame. And I was like, you know what, maybe this isn't a good year for me to prep. So part of me in my mind almost held back and didn't reach out to Paul, and was thinking, okay, let me wait till this year goes by and then I'll reach out to him. But you know what? I reached out to him and I never looked back, and we prepped for 3 shows, and those shows taught me so much, and I had some of the best memories of 2021 from those shows. So if you are somebody looking for the perfect time to start, whether it be starting with a coach or starting prep for a show, or even just starting, thinking about prepping for a show, there will never be a right time. The hardest part is just always getting started. So just get started and then go from there. Never look back, right? What is the worst thing that can happen? So that's one of the biggest lessons I learned, is there will never be a perfect time. Okay, the second thing I want to point out that I really learned this past year is that this is a long-term sport. The sport of bodybuilding, being a competitor, you have to be in this for the long term. This is not just something that you typically do for 6 months, a year, and then you're done. This is a long-term, long-haul sport. You are constantly evolving in some way, whether you're in prep for a specific show or you're in your improvement season like I am now. You're constantly working towards your next package that you're going to be put on stage. But if you're the type of person who needs these really short-term goals and needs to always be competing, in order to fulfill this lifestyle and continue doing what you're doing, this may not be the sport for you. You have to realize that in order to do well, in order to be successful, this is a long-term sport. And I say this to people all the time, with it being January, I've been talking with a few of my own clients about doing shows in the fall. And a lot of them have been like, wow, that's a long time, Lexi. And I'm like, really, it's not. When you're talking in terms of being a competitor and being a sport or a competitor in the sport of bodybuilding, from now to the fall, it is going to fly by. This is just such a long-term sport. And also, any fitness journey is long-term, right? I think we get caught up in like seeing these transformations on social media that appear to be overnight when they're not. And we think that that's, what we need to do, when in reality, that's not realistic, right? So that's the second biggest lesson I learned, is to be okay with realizing that, hey, I know what my goal is, but it may take a little bit longer, to get there. And the beautiful thing is, maybe your goal is gonna take you a year to accomplish, but guess what? You've got the next year to, enjoy the process and to learn so much throughout the way as you're headed towards that goal. So that's lesson number 2. First one, there will never be a perfect time. Second one is, this is a long-term sport. Do not rush. This is a marathon, not a sprint. That's number 2. Okay, number 3. The bad days amplify the good ones. And I know this may sound a little like, out there, and like, it can relate to anything in life, right? But I truly learned this in the depths of my prep this past year. I have a whole video, I think I have a whole video about, you can go back and watch some of my show day vlogs where I talk about how some of the days get really hard, but during some of my worst days where I'm talking I had no energy, I was so tired, last thing I wanted to do was go to the gym, I always told myself, okay, Lexi, this may be a really bad day right now. You may be feeling like really crappy, but guess what? Tomorrow, you're probably gonna wake up, and even if it's not the most amazing day, you're gonna have this day to compare back to, and tomorrow is gonna seem so much better because you lived through today. So I always tell people, the bad days, they serve their purpose. Yes, they suck in the moment, but guess what? Tomorrow, you're probably gonna wake up, and even if it's just a normal day, you're gonna be like, oh my God, this is so good, because it's nothing like the bad day that you had to endure. So the bad days really do build us up, build character, teach us lessons, and they're there for a reason, and they truly do amplify the good. Because think about it, if we had good days all year round, we would probably lose appreciation for those good days. So the bad days will build you up, and they just amplify the good days that much more. So that's lesson number 3. Okay, second lesson is going to be, stress is vital to manage. And I'm sorry, I'm looking down. I have my list right here. Stress is vital to manage, whether you are a bikini competitor, a figure competitor, or somebody who is just working actively with a coach and you have no intention of competing. Whenever you have physique specific goals, stress is so important to manage. You may feel like you're able to get away with a lot of stress on your plate now, but believe me, it's gonna bite you in the future, right? It truly will. Stress, too much stress on your plate it can be vital, or it can be so detrimental to your progress, especially if you're a competitor. When you get stage lean, you could be doing everything right. You could be grinding in your cardio and in the gym and literally not eating a lot of food, and look at everything on paper and your body should be responding. But if you're not managing your stress, you are gonna look so much worse. Your body's gonna look inflamed. Your body is more likely to just stop responding. Same with if you're a lifestyle client, if you're in a fat loss phase, and I've had clients that can probably resonate with this. We've been in a fat loss phase. They're doing everything right. They're eating in a presumable calorie deficit. They are doing their cardio, they're getting in their training, but they're so stressed out and they're not getting enough sleep, and they have all these things going on and their body just doesn't respond. So that is a huge lesson I've learned, within this past year, is that stress, oh my gosh, it's so underrated in my opinion. And stress isn't just a psychological feeling. You may think, oh, I'm not stressed, I don't feel stressed, but you may be stressed without knowing it. Just training in general puts a stressor on your body. Cardio puts a stressor on your body, especially HIIT cardio. Being in a diet puts a stress on your body. And also other little things will put stressors on your body. I could go into depth, like blue light. put stress on your body. That's a stimulus. But moral of the story, and the biggest thing I've learned is that stress is detrimental to your progress. Do not underestimate it. And if you have a coach out there who is not asking about your stress and all that, like, they're missing out on a big piece of the puzzle. So I'll leave you guys with that on that topic. Okay, the next thing I've really learned this past year is too many cooks in the kitchen is a bad thing. So what I mean by that is, when you are working with a coach, whether you're a lifestyle client or a competitor, but specifically, I would say I see this happen a lot more with competitors, is you're gonna get a lot of people that wanna give their opinion, whether it be mom, dad, Joe Schmo in the gym, your aunt, some guy you see on the street, I don't know. You're gonna have a lot of people that have an opinion on how you look, especially when you're a competitor and you get, very lean and you're getting close to your show. You're gonna get people in the gym that are like, oh my God, you look amazing. You could step on stage today, right? Maybe you're still 5 weeks out. Well, you can, let those thoughts kind of go through your mind, and eventually they're gonna kind of play tricks on you, right? And you make it the opposite too. You may get people that tell you, oh my gosh, you're so lean. Like, you're probably way too lean for the stage. I had somebody tell me that way back in the day. And I know that really messed with my mindset. Same if you're a lifestyle client, you may have people that tell you, oh, you're not looking so good nowadays, or, you've lost too much weight, or you've gained too much weight. You know what? Shut those outsiders' thoughts, out, because everybody's always gonna have an opinion. And what are those opinions gonna do for your mental sake? They're gonna do nothing. They're gonna just make you second guess what you're doing. So what I mean by having too many cooks in the kitchen, that being a bad thing, is just that. Do not let all of those outside opinions get to you. I say the person you should listen to the most is your coach. If you hire a solid, trustworthy coach, you should put all of your trust in them. And then if you're a competitor, furthermore, you may trust not only your coach, but the judges. Those are other people you need to listen to. Anybody else who wants to chime in on how you look or how you should have placed or all that, it shouldn't really mean anything. Take it with a grain of salt. So that is another huge lesson I learned, because I know I had to learn to kind of shut that out throughout this past year, especially when I was in contest prep. Okay, so I believe it's the last lesson two more lessons that I want to put out there. So one of the other things I learned is that doing less is sometimes doing more. I have a whole video I made on this on my Instagram. If you go to my Instagram and look at my old IGTVs, I have a video specifically titled When Less is Doing More. And this is a big lesson that I've, really learned this past year, is that sometimes grinding ourselves into the ground, doing more cardio, eating less, doing more is the exact opposite of what our body actually needs. And a lot of times it takes having a coach and it takes having an objective viewpoint to be able to tell you, hey, I know that we are looking to, maybe your goal is fat loss, but sometimes doing more is actually gonna set you back. There are periods of time during fat loss phases, during prep, where doing less is actually doing more. Taking a diet break, taking a refeed, taking a whole week away from training, that may be what your body needs. And I think you have to just be open to that. And I know it sounds weird that, oh my gosh, doing less is actually gonna be like helping me lose weight if that's your goal. But yes, it works that way sometimes. And you just have to be open to that concept, because it is so true. Doing more is not always superior to doing less, in certain circumstances. And it's all about working smarter, not harder. I'm sure you guys have heard that term before. Okay, now down to the last biggest lesson I have learned this past year within my fitness journey. It would be that how you view yourself is probably way different than how you are actually perceived by most people around you. And I mean this strictly from a physical standpoint, as far as your body image. I think any bikini competitor, or any competitor in general, can attest to having bad body image days, right? Even in prep, I had days where I would just take pictures and not love the way I looked. And now I'm deep into improvement season, and of course I have those days. But you have to remember that you look at yourself so much that ultimately your vision is going to become distorted in some way. And you have to kind of just recognize that that is a thing. And that's why it is so useful, especially as a competitor, to have a coach, because especially when you get stage lean, those prep goggles, the way you see yourself is not going to be how you are actually perceived by most people. believe me, I look back at some of my old prep pictures and I'm like, oh my God, I did not see myself the way I see myself now then. So that's why I think it's important to recognize and realize it firsthand, you know, hey, the way I see myself, it's probably a little distorted, probably not how other people around me view me. And I also think it's so important to consider a coach depending on what your goals are, so that part of the puzzle doesn't hold you back too much, okay? So those are the biggest points I wanted to point out in this video. I didn't want it to become too long of a ramble because I don't like to keep you guys watching for too long when I do sit down videos. But if you've watched this long, thank you so much for watching. Comment below if any of these resonated with you. And also, furthermore, comment below with like the biggest lesson you have learned in 2021 when it comes to going through your fitness journey. I'd love to hear some of those. And then lastly, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. That really helps. Subscribe to my channel. Share this video on Instagram, wherever you do your stuff. I would really appreciate that. And I will catch you guys in the next video.